moreover into real-time processing, batch processing kind of stuff. And currently I'm a consultant plus a part-time trainer. So that's my basic profession. And yeah, hi everyone. And I'd just love to know about you. I want to know your years of experience and your area of expertise. That would be great if you can share to me right now through the chat box. Thank you. And I'll be putting everyone in the muted mode since the session is a recorded session. So it would be better for the clear environment so that, you know, for the later references, it will be good for you. And of course, if you have any queries during the session or anything, you can just unmute yourself and you can ask, or else you can just ask in the chat box. That's the preference which I use. If suppose there are some questions which you can't express in the chat box or something like that, in that scenario, you can just unmute yourself and you can ask the query. Okay. So let's please let me know. I just want to know your years of experience and the area of specialization. Thank you.
Hi. Hi, Prashant.
Okay, so hi Raja, you have 12 years of experience in Oracle and ETL technologies. Good. Praveen, 7 years experience in Java J2EE. Very good. We have Sai here, software engineer with 2.5 years of experience in Java domain. Very good. We have Charitesh. He's 6 years experience in ETL. Pavan, 8 years experience in Java J2EE. And Madhuri, she has just now recently completed MTech. Good. Ujjwal, I have 6 years of experience in ETL development and testing. Very good, Ujjwal. So, very good. Yeah. So, you know, basically, before we start the course and all, people have certain questions in their mind, you know, even before we start the course. So there are some FAQs which I have prepared myself so that, you know, like you can get some idea what exactly you are in, what you will be learning, what should be your mindset kind of thing. So the very first basic question that people ask me is, do you need Java knowledge to work on Hadoop development? This is the very first basic question that anybody asks. So let me be frank, yes, you must have Java knowledge. If suppose you're a person who is from analytics background, or you're a business analyst kind of people, then, you know, Java is not that mandatory for you because you will have your junior coordinators who will be Java programmers for you. So, you know, like you need not worry about how you can manage the Java part and all. However, when it comes to learning, when it comes to learning and development, I really believe that, yes, you must have some basic knowledge on Java. When I say basic knowledge, core Java is expected. And you must have some hands-on experience in working with util package and the IO package. When I say the IO package, specifically, you must know how to perform file handling, how to use a stream, how to accept the streams, and how to convert the file into streams, something like that. And if you are from an analyst background or a data scientist background, so need not worry. I mean, for you, we have Pig 5. And in near future, you can learn something called ARP or SAS or something like that. The very next question that people ask is, do you need Linux knowledge? See, since this is a course on Hadoop, so the basic prerequisite for the Hadoop is, of course, you need to work on Linux. But it's not that compulsory that you must know Linux, because this course is more on Hadoop development. So, a basic knowledge of Linux is okay. Even though if you don't have Linux knowledge, during the classroom sessions, I myself will cover some Linux commands that is essential for Hadoop. So, you can side by side cover the Linux part. So, Linux will not be an issue for you. And I myself, in the practical sessions, I'll be using Ubuntu. In real productions, we use Ubuntu, we use CentOS. So, you will not face any difficulty in that. The next very question, from where you can get the softwares. So see, whatever softwares, tools, applications I use for my practicals that I'll be showing you and demonstrating you, all these tools and practicals are available here. All the tools, applications, whatever required is available in this Google Drive link. So, after the class, I'll be sharing this notepad from the resources tab. So, you can just download this notepad. You can just download the tools from the software link. Okay. So, apart from these FAQs, do you have any questions before I start the training? If you have any questions, you can ask me via the chat box.
Praveen, where do you say that you'll put the notepad in? Like, where do I get the?
Yeah, I'll tell you. See here. See, everybody, my screen may be different and your screen might be different, but yeah, everybody has a Learn Social portal access. So in Learn Social portal access, there will be one section called resources. So under resources, you will get your resources. For example, let me just put a test. Okay, I will say here day 1 test. I'm not putting any resources right now here. I'm just putting a section. I'll just send it from here. Just check it from your portal whether you are able to, access the portal or not. So whether you are able to access the resources or not. Let me just put one attachment for your reference. So see, right now in current resources, just now I have uploaded one day 1 test. That is the normal notepad file just for testing purpose. Just check it whether you can access. Sorry. Just check it whether you can access this or not. You can access it from your resources portal. Okay. Can everybody access it? I got one response from Sai. What about others? Have you checked it? Okay, great. Yeah. So, in this way only, I'll be sharing all the notes, ebooks wherever applicable, assignments, as well as the program source codes that I'll be discussing. All those things I'll be sharing in this way only, via resources tab. And only this link is something, see, this link contains around 8 to 10 GB of data. So, it's expected that you just go to this Google Drive link and download all the essential softwares and tools required for the training. Okay. So, I'll be taking this as a reference for the training purpose. You can see here, I already created a good, a complete package for you. So you can download this one by one. Okay, don't download it at a stretch. It will take a lot of time. Of course, subject to your internet speed. So you can just download everything from here and you can practice whatever I am doing in the class. And one more thing, this class is a recorded session. So, post the class, of course, you will be having access to the recording section. The recordings might be uploaded in the next 4 to 5 hours post the completion of the class. And that will be done by the backend team of the Learn Social. And if you face any difficulty regarding the course content, or if you have any questions, during the revision phase or whenever you learn or you browse the blogs or something like that, and you get some queries or concerns, in Learn Social portal, we have a section called discussion. This discussion is similar to our Facebook discussion, that, earlier we had awkward discussion kind of thing, that's scrap discussions. So, this is a dedicated discussion portal where actually every day I will be logging in, even on the weekdays. I'll be logging in for at least, in every 24 hours for 5-10 minutes, I'll be logging and checking the things, whatever is discussing here. and I'll be putting my responses wherever applicable. Even feel free to answer your friends' queries also. So, you can post all your questions. If there are some questions do you want to send me in private or something like that, there's a message tab section where you can send me the messages. Here you can actually let me know what exactly you're looking for, if you have any queries or concerns. Apart from that, if suppose you have some queries on hands-ons, suppose you are performing something and you're getting some weird error that is not expected in the video. In that scenario, you can just send me the snapshot of your screen in my email ID. So if you can see here, this is my email ID. I have put my email ID because, sometimes people have queries where I need the snapshots, the print screen of your desktop and all, so that I can identify where is the problem and I can help you accordingly. So, there are multiple ways to connect to me, and you can just ask me all your queries and concerns. So before I start the session, do you have any queries? Like pre-course queries or something like that? Feel free to ask. Okay, great. Fine. So this is our today's agenda, the agenda which you are watching right now. So today we will be starting with introduction to big data, the IBM's definition of big data, veracity of the data, introduction to Hadoop, Hadoop generations, distributions, prerequisites, downloading the correct version of Hadoop, installation steps of Ubuntu, and of course installation of Hadoop P1. So I want this class to be highly interactive, and when I say highly interactive, please via chat box try to avoid multiple voices. The reason is pretty simple, because there's a recorded session, so it will be beneficial for you only, for your future reference. And yeah, as I think these recordings are something which is given for lifetime, so you will have this lifetime portal and this lifetime recordings also, so you'll gain a lot of benefits from this. Okay, so let's start the session. A very basic question that I ask to everyone, even before I start the session. What is big data as per your viewpoint? What is big data? What do you understand by the word big data? Please share your viewpoints via chat box. Thank you. Okay. So Raja says enormous amount of data. Okay. Pradeep says storing. Okay, it's gone up. Yeah. Storing and reading huge amount of data. Okay. Pawan says managing huge data which is not manageable. Okay, good, Pawan. For me, it's a large set of unstructured data. Okay. In RDBMS, very good, Pawan. Okay, what about others? Okay, big data is enormous amount of data with lots of variety. Very good, Parveen. Parveen, sorry. Okay, so what I can see from here is, in most of your definitions, you all are referring to the size of the data. Am I right? Is my understanding correct? Are you all referring to the size? Okay, size says large amount of data which needs huge computing power to get analytics which cannot be processed using conventional database. Okay, Amit says not only size but the variety. Okay, fine, got your point. Okay, cool. So now let me actually try to demonstrate something in front of you, because my way of teaching is I love to demonstrate rather than just giving you a fact theory. See here. I have a system right now with me. Okay, this is my laptop. Just see the configuration of my laptop right now. As you can see here, right now my laptop is having Core i7 quad-core processor with 32 gigs of RAM, and I'm using a 64-bit of Windows operating system. I'm using Windows 7 for your information. Okay, So 32 gigs, Core i7, that too quad core, and 64 GB operating system. So by now you may have got an idea of my hardware. My hardware is quite powerful. Now, I'll just show you one small screen. Now see, I have a very simple question to everyone. Kindly observe this and be interactive with me. So see, I have a file, okay, it's a normal text file. There is no tricks behind it, okay. Let me tell you, you can trust me. This is a normal text file. It contains text data, okay. Now, see the size of this file. The size of the file is 507 MB. My question is pretty simple. Is this a big data or not? What is your viewpoint? Let me tell you, it contains unstructured data. For those who know what is unstructured data, this is just for your information. It contains unstructured data and it's a pure text file. There is no tricks behind it. And the size of the file is 507 MB. So is this data a big data? What is your viewpoint? Okay, Amit says yes, Pawan says yes, Ujjwal says yes, it's a big data, very good. Raja says yes, Parveen says yes, Madhavi says yes. Okay, everyone is saying it's a big data. Okay, any specific reason? Any specific reason? Why big data? Sai says due to variety. Okay, since my data is unstructured, that's why you are saying. Am I right, Sai? Okay. Amit also says variety. Okay, good. Others? Any reason? Okay. So you are also saying it's because of variety. Okay. Okay, Parveen. Okay, fine. Cannot be processed by manual power. Cannot be processed by manual power. Manual power. I didn't get you actually, Raja. But the thing is, you know my hardware capacity. Based on my hardware capacity, Aja, I mean person reading through it. Okay, fine. Okay, that's why it's a big data. Okay, cool. Got your point, Raja. Okay, so see here. Now what I will do is, I'm going to do the biggest mistake of my life, okay? The biggest mistake is, I'm going to double click. Kindly observe everyone, okay? You all know my hardware, yet, you know, Notepad is trying to open this file. He will try his level best. After some time, he says something called, I am sorry, I cannot open. The one which I am highlighting is the one which I am telling you, okay? And not only that, there is one more observation that you need to do. The observation is here. You must observe one thing, the one which I have highlighted. See, Notepad is taking around 13% of CPU and around 1 GB of RAM, almost the twice of the size of the file. The Notepad is almost consuming the resources, the twice the resources that is expected. Yet he is incapable to, you know, process the data, or I can say load the data. Can others hear me? Just acknowledge me, Sai, everyone. Okay, so Mr. Arun Dixit, let me just put a message to him. Please check. Okay, fine. So, now, one thing that you observed right now was the software was consuming almost double the amount of the, you know, resources that is required for the file, yet the software was incapable to work on the data. Okay? Now, when I do the same thing with another way, kindly observe everyone. Now I'm going to open the same thing using WordPad. Kindly observe, when I try to open the same using WordPad, kindly observe what happens. The WordPad have successfully loaded the data. Not only that, kindly observe here, this WordPad is also consuming the same resources. The WordPad is also consuming the same resources. Okay? So, what do you understand by this? Based on all the observations and based on all the actions that I did in front of you, what do you understand by this? See here, everybody. When I say big data, first of all, big data is a term. Okay? It's not a technology. It's not a technique or tool. Okay? Big data is purely a term. It's not a technology, it's not a technique, it's not a tool. Okay? People, whenever I run around the market, I find most of the people are saying big data is a technology. And somewhere I really feel bad by hearing that, because it's actually not a technology. It's just a term. I will say big data is a term to define that, I can say something like that, to define the behavior of the data. It's all about the ability of the software to, let me just word wrap it, handle the data. So when I say big data is all about the ability of your software to handle the data. Okay. When I say ability of software, just now as an example, what we observed. For example, what we saw is we had a file called 2012-01-hourly.txt, which was of size 507 MB. Okay. Now, when I tried to open with Notepad, there were some observations. The observation was this software was not capable to load the data in the RAM, irrespective of the hardware provided. Thus, for Notepad, it's a big data. For Notepad, it's a big data. But at the same time, when we did it with WordPad, what we understand? This software was capable to load the data in the RAM. Thus, for WordPad, the given data is not a big data. So is everybody clear with the basic meaning of big data? Is everybody fine if everybody is clear what is big data? This is the basic thing that you must digest in your mind. People may say different things, okay? There may be some myths that is running in your market, but trust me, I'm just proving the things in front of you. See, I am a consultant, and whenever I visit multiple companies regarding any big data problem or something, see, most of the companies say that, Prashant, I have around 25 terabytes of data, okay, 25 terabytes of big data. I want a solution from your end to get some value out of it, or to get some analytics out of it. So my first question to them is, which tool did you use previously to gain these things? The first question I ask is, which was the tool that you used previously to process this data? The reason why I ask them this question is, I am trying to understand why they are failing right now, why they need a big data solution. See, there's a word in market called big data problem. The another name for this word is data explosion. Generally companies are happy. Most of the time, let me tell you, the frank thing is, companies were happy earlier. But the moment software started hanging, companies are facing a trouble called big data problem, or I can say data explosion. As and when the size of the data, or as and when the variety of data gets changed or increased, at that scenario, the existing softwares are becoming incapable to work with that data. In short, the existing softwares fail to give the results that is expected by the company. So in that scenario, they need a solution that can actually process the data. Now, let me give you one small example, guys. Let me ask you something. How many of you work on Oracle Enterprise Tool? Anybody here who worked on Oracle Enterprise Tools? Or, Oracle SQL Server, a basic Oracle SQL Server? Have everybody worked on it during college days or whatever, in any time? Great. Any guesses, anybody? See, you all know it's a pure RDBMS. Okay, you all know it. I believe that. Okay, so it's a pure RDBMS. So my question is pretty simple. If I am ready to give you as much hardware as you wish, okay, if you want, I will give you 512 GB of RAM. Okay, I'm ready to give around 100 terabytes of hard disk space. I can offer you all the things, whatever you require with respect to hardware. My question to you is, what is the maximum amount of data Oracle tool can handle? Maximum amount of data Oracle can handle in a single instance. When I say single instance, means single machine. I am not talking about cluster. Mark my word, I am not talking about cluster. I am only talking about single instance. Any guesses? Any guesses how much maximum size Oracle can handle with respect to data? Like you all observed that Notepad failed on 507 MB. So what will be the maximum threshold for Oracle? Any guesses? Okay, size says 10 to 15 bytes maybe. Do you mean terabyte size? Okay, depends on OS. Okay, Amit, let me make it specific for you. Let's assume I am using Windows Server OS, Server 2012. Amit, this is specifically for you. Now tell me. Raja says 20 TB, Pavan says 2 GB. Arjun says, I think no limit. Okay. Okay. So let me answer this. Based on our research and analysis, actually I have a research team, so based on our research analysis, what we understood is a single instance can handle up to 12 terabytes of data, 12 terabytes of structured data. So what is the structured data and all that we'll understand later, not a problem. But I'm just trying to make you understand what is the scenario here. So if there is any company who is dependent on Oracle tools, maybe for as a backend database or something like that. So once the Oracle crosses 12 terabytes, once that active server crosses 12 terabytes, he will also face the big data problem. So after 12 terabytes, there's a big data problem introduced in Oracle. Okay. So at that time, suppose companies telling me that I am using Oracle backend for all my work. So I always suggest them, why to go for Hadoop? You go for MySQL, right? Because MySQL at the same time can handle up to 18 terabytes. MySQL is free, but see the capacity. I mean, it can handle up to 18 terabytes of structured data. So go for MySQL. Why you're going for Oracle? So the thing is, if suppose MySQL also fails, if they are looking for more amount of data, then we have Teradata. Go for Teradata then. Teradata has a capacity of handling up to around, 55 terabytes. That's what is our testing phase. Up to 55 terabytes, you will not face any issue in Teradata. Then go for Teradata. So where's the problem? The problem is company wants a solution to handle unlimited data. We are very much, used to with this word, unlimited. Even when you subscribe for internet, you want unlimited internet. Even if you want, we need everything unlimited. So today company is saying, I want a solution that can handle unlimited data. I don't want to call a consultant. I don't want to call any company as and when my storage gets hanged or as and when my, processor gets hanged. I don't want any downtime to be introduced for my organization, for my customers, for my end users. I don't want that to happen. So this is where actually we need a solution for something called as data explosion or something called as big data problem. And this is where Hadoop helps you a lot. Okay. So the reason why Hadoop, I'm just telling this in early stage, but still, the reason why it's Hadoop is because Hadoop says, I can handle unlimited data. For Hadoop, Hadoop is like my capacity is directly proportional to hardware capacity. So if you give tremendous amount of hardware to Hadoop, Hadoop can handle up to that much level of data. Is everybody clear with the word big data problem? Is everybody clear what is big data problem ideally? Whenever your existing tools or applications fail to process, that given scenario is considered as a big data problem. And my role as a consultant is to solve big data problem in the given organization. Okay, great. So fine, just now we have covered what is big data. We also understood one of the basic terms, something called as what is big data problem. Now, let me just explore some of the definitions that is released recently in the market. So, when this word big data came into buzz, at that time, IBM was the first company who released his own definition on big data. So, what is IBM's viewpoint on big data basically? So, IBM says that any data which follows the 3 V's as mentioned below can be considered as big data. Okay, so what are those 3 V's? The 3 V's are volume. Some may have heard these things. Velocity and variety. So the 3 V's of IBM definition are volume, velocity, and variety, where the word volume refers to the size of the data, the velocity refers to the speed of change or update of the data. Just for your example, the Facebook likes. This is just for your example. Suppose I am actually posting a post right now in Facebook and my friend is liking that post. The time required for me to understand whether my friend liked that post or not is considered as velocity. You'll observe one thing, in normal days, if anybody likes any post, at that time, the actual author of the post gets the response in some seconds, hardly in 2 or 3 seconds, subject to your internet speed. But on Christmas and all, during the Christmas period or during the New Year period, the same Facebook thing, if anybody is liking that page, it takes around 3 to 4 minutes to update in the Friends portal. I don't know how many of you observed that, but this is as per our research. Even today also, Facebook is having a challenge on big data. Not only Facebook, everyone. Google also is having that challenge on big data. But the thing is, most of the challenges are resolved. Some of the challenges like, heavy traffic days like festival times or especially this New Year and Christmas time. Those are the time when their servers become slow. Those are the times when they affect the word velocity. Velocity refers to the speed of change or the update of the data. Okay. The third thing is variety. Variety refers to the type of the data. Now, when I say type of the data, basically there are three varieties. First is called structured data. Second is called semi-structured data. And the third is called unstructured data. Okay. So let's understand what is structured data. So when I say structured data, I will say data with a physical schema. Which is crackable by all associated tools. For example, if I create a table in MySQL, the same table is crackable by Oracle. Think it that way. Okay. So example is data in RDBMS. So see, when I say structured data, your structured data must follow CORD's rule. CORD's 11 rules basically. Okay. So data in RDBMS, that's the example of structured data. Just for an example, let me say, our problem employee. So inside employee, let's say I have one called EMP_ID. Then I have something called EMP_name. Okay, I'm just taking an example so that later I will be explaining you semi-structured and unstructured. So this is my example. So let's say employee ID 1, and then let's say Prashant. Let's say employee ID 2. Let's say Sai. So this is just an example of a structured data which is there in two-dimensional matrix, or data in the form of rows and columns, or data which follows CORD rules. All these are actually considered as a structured data. Okay. Now, the next is semi-structured data. So when I say semi-structured data, what are semi-structured data? Now let me tell you, since you all are here for this course on big data development or Hadoop development, you should take more interest on semi-structured data. The reason is 90% of the data that I found in my career when it comes to processing or when it comes to handling comes under the category of semi-structured data. Okay, now let me tell you the examples. So I will say, what is semi-structured data? Data with a logical schema is considered as a semi-structured data. Okay, as an example, let me say XML files and JSON data. Okay, so everybody is aware with XML and JSON? Anybody here who is not aware with any of the term? Anybody here who is not aware of XML or JSON? Okay, great. So see, I just put an example here. Okay, no problem, Arjun, I'll help you. So see here. Now see, if suppose I have this structured data, if you tell me to convert this data into XML, see here how I'm converting. So I'll say here something like this: XML version equals 1.0, something like this. Now I'll say employee. I'll say record tag, under which I have EMP underscore ID, 1 EMP underscore ID, EMP underscore name. I'll say Prashant, EMP underscore name. I'll just close the record tag. In similar way, I will have one more record tag where I say to, here I'll say Sai, and finally I'll close the employee tag. Okay, everybody's comfortable with XML, right? Everybody's comfortable with XML? Give me a yes if it is. Okay, so no heavy explanation required. Great. Okay, now see what is JSON. Let me just convert the data into JSON, and I'll bet you that you will understand it easily. So see, JSON is also a structure, okay? For example, I'll create a file called employee.json, okay? So JSON is a standard structure, like how XML is a standard structure from W3C, basically. From W3C, XML and JSON are considered to be the standard structure. So considering in that way, let me show you how JSON data looks like. So inside the file, everything is inside a curly braces. Now see, curly braces represent records. I hope by now you all know what is records in terms of RDBMS. So let's consider the same employee example. Let me convert it into JSON. So I will say here, double quotes, colon, double quotes. Kindly observe, the left-hand side of the column is the field name, and the right-hand side of the column is field data. For example, kindly observe, employee ID, here I am saying employee ID, the value record is 1. Now, semicolon. Semicolon is the field separator. Semicolon is the field separator. And once again, like this. So I'll say employee name and maybe Prashant. Oops, sorry. So see, this is my one record. So see, in JSON, you always store the data in the form of records in this way. So once again, curly brackets, like this, I'll say employee underscore ID, colon, I'll say 2, then semicolon, I'll say employee underscore name, then I say Sai, and that's it. So now is everybody clear what is JSON, how JSON stores the data, basic way. Everybody clear what is JSON, how JSON data looks like? Everybody confident with that? Those who are Java programmers, can you parse this data and can you extract records out of it? Yes or no? Those who are Java programmers? If I give you a file which contains this kind of data, and if you know the structure, can you extract only the records out of it using pattern and matcher class? I'm just trying to understand your level. That's why I'm asking this, okay? Pattern and matcher classes using regular expressions or something like that. So see, that's the thing. If you know the structure of the data, the next role is you need to create something to read it. Okay? Good. So I hope everybody is now comfortable with semi-structured data. The last is unstructured data. The last type is unstructured data. So I say data with no structure. Example is text files. I will say Excel sheet. I will say Word document. Okay, photos, email. I will say, MP3, video, etc. All these comes under unstructured data. The one which I have listed comes under unstructured data. Okay. So unstructured data is the data which has no structure, but logically it should have a pattern so that you can extract information out of unstructured data. Now let me tell you one more point. some people may get shocked out of it. Even the CSV file is a unstructured data. Even the CSV file or even the TSV file, tab separated value, even those comes under the unstructured data. Okay? Now, this is the IBM's definition. So when I say IBM's definition, any data which follows the 3 V's mentioned is considered as a big data. So the 3 V's were volume, velocity, and variety. Okay, where the volume refers to the size of the data, velocity refers to the speed of change or update of the data, and the variety refers to the type of the data. So here basically we have 3 kinds of data, that is the structured data, semi-structured data, and the unstructured data. Where in structured data you have example as data which is there in RDBMS, which follows the Cod's rule, which follows all the normalization structures. We have semi-structured data where the data has a logical schema, like for example we observed about the XML files and the JSON data, the one which you are seeing in your screen right now. This is an example of a semi-structured data. And finally, we have the unstructured data, where actually it shows that the data which has no structure, for example, the CSV, the TSV, the text file, the images, the MP3s, audios, videos, whatever. All those comes under the unstructured data. One more example of unstructured data is like your biometric information, your iris scan and all. Just for your information, those are from India. You all know Aadhaar card, the Aadhaar card project. In the Aadhaar card, they are taking your fingerprints, they are taking your iris scans and all. So all those are unstructured data and all those are actually maintained in Hadoop for your information. Aadhaar project is actually in Hadoop. Okay, so that's a clear example. So is everybody clear with the IBM's definition? Is everybody clear what is IBM's viewpoint on big data? Let me tell you, this definition is not complete. It's not clear because this was the first definition ever released. You know, when there was a buzz in the market called big data, at that time IBM released this definition to sell one of his mainframe systems, to be frank. That's a marketing strategy it was. However, that was not a hit. That's a different point, but still. Okay. Now, let me tell you one more thing. See, not everyone was satisfied with the IBM's definition because IBM's definition was not giving any clarity to anyone about the big data. How you can say that the given size is considered big data? There is no specific limit. You know, people used to ask IBM, when you use the word volume, what volume are you referring to? Are you referring to bytes or kilobytes or megabytes or gigabytes or terabytes or petabytes or hexabytes? What you are actually referring to? So, you know, their IBM was silent. When we used to ask the IBM, when you talk about variety, which variety is dangerous? Are you talking about unstructured or are you talking about structured? Even then, IBM was little quiet because at that time, you know, unstructured data was not that famous when this definition was released. At that time, it was just, you know, in the initial stage. We do not have a lot of data sources. All the data were manageable in the single database. That was the time. So, you know, at that time, Mr. Gartner, I hope you all know this name. Those who are in IT, they all respect this guy, Gartner, and his theories and philosophies. So Mr. Gartner had some correction on the IBM's definition. So what Gartner said is, IBM's definition on big data is incomplete without one extra V. So IBM so Gartner had a fourth V in his mind, and that V is called veracity. Short and sweet, value. Now what do you mean by value? If I process the data, will I get any value out of it? If yes, the given data comes under the category of big data. So kindly understand this line. See what Gartner is saying, not every data can be categorized as big data. You cannot call any junk as a big data. If you can generate value or if you can extract information out of that data, then the given data can be considered as big data. Otherwise, it's purely a junk and that cannot be considered as a big data. Is everybody clear with this 4th B? Are you able to understand what I have written there, everyone? If you have any queries on the 4th B, please let me know. I'll try to elaborate it more. But the junk and unstructured, no, there's a difference between unstructured, there's a difference between junk. Assume for a moment CSV. From CSV I can extract some columns. Okay, I can take only the limited data set and I can get some value. But when I talk about junk, for example, let me show you the difference between junk and unstructured. Just give me 1 minute, guys. See here. Okay. I'll just pause my screen for a minute. I'll show you one junk data and I'll show you one unstructured data. Just give me 2 minutes. Okay. I hope you all can see my screen now. So, see, there's a junk.txt here. It's hardly 18 kilobyte. Okay, kindly observe. Now I'm trying to open this with Notepad. See, this is junk. This is junk. And let me show you data. So this is data. So for your information, this is the data which is extracted from satellites. So from this data, I can predict what could be the weather for next day. If I see today's weather, I can predict for the next day's weather, something like that. So this can give some value to me. This can give some value to NASA to understand when to launch the rocket. Think in that way. Okay? But this is something that will create an issue for you. This. So this is what Gartner said. Not every data can be considered as a big data. Only the data which can give you some value can be considered as a big data. Now is everybody clear with the difference? What Gartner wants to say? Okay, fine. Now, okay. So now let's talk about Hadoop. So I hope by now you all understood what is big data. Now, if anybody asks you what is big data, let me tell you this should be your answer. It's only a term to define the behavior of data with respect to software. It's all about the ability of the software to handle the data. So this is the actual meaning of the term big data. Remember that. Okay. So you will get many things in the market, but you know, if you want to survive, please follow this. That's the only suggestion from my end. Now, next thing. Introduction to Hadoop. Okay. So now, what is Hadoop basically, and what is the role of Hadoop in big data? Okay. So to understand this, let me just try to give you some small like a scenario in front of you. See, first of all, before I talk anything about Hadoop, you need to know what do you mean by the term batch processing, and what do you mean by the term real-time processing? Okay, so how many of you are aware of these terms? If you are aware, kindly give me some inputs on this via chat box. What is batch processing as per your viewpoint, and what is real-time processing as per your viewpoint? Okay, process the data in set. Okay. Amit says breaking a job into batches and processing them. Okay. Arjun says real time at the same instant while usually off the peak time. Okay. Real time data like weather reports. Okay. Hourly, weekly, fine. Running a set of data in sequence. Process the data in small chunks is considered as batch processing. Okay. Okay, Jewel. Okay. Fine. Now, let me just write down whatever I feel. So when I say batch processing, I will say is everybody agreeing with my point? Is everybody agreeing with my first point when it comes to batch processing? Anybody having any doubt on this point? Working with historical data. I hope everybody is clear. Great. Okay. Working with historical data means your data should be present. Your data should be present prior you work on the data. Got my point, Pawan? For example, you must have the election, you must have the result. I mean, before you process the result, something like that. See, when I talk about batch processing, in batch, first of all, this batch processing is meant to work with historical data. Second thing, when I say large amount of data, I am referring to the word volume. Okay, when you talk about batch processing will have the capacity to process even terabytes or petabytes of data. Okay, batch processing will have the capacity to process even the terabytes or petabytes of the data. Okay, now next point in the batch processing is my third point clear? If you're processing a batch, if you're processing anything in batch, you cannot expect the output in real time. The output also will be in the form of batch. So it needs some time to display in the dashboard. Think in that way. Suppose you have a dashboard. Suppose let's take an example. Okay, quickinfo.com. These days World Cup. There's a World Cup season right now. Okay, prediction of the scores. Projected score. There's a section called projected score. That projected score is been calculated based on the batch data, not on the historical data. Sorry, not on the real-time data. Remember that the projected score concept that you always see in your cricket match live, that is actually projected based on the historical data and not on the real-time data. Okay, so after every over, whatever happened in the scenario, that thing is processed and the prediction is being taken about how much runs they might score. Okay, so that comes under batch processing. So batch processing is something where you're taking the reference of the historical data. Okay, now when I talk about real-time processing, what is real-time processing? So I'll say working with current data. First thing first. Okay, when I talk about real-time processing is all about working with current data. Okay, next thing, it can process only a small amount of data. That too, let me be specific in kilobytes. How many of you agree with my second point in real-time processing? See, when you work on real-time, okay, when I say real-time, the data is coming. As and when the data is coming, it's being processed. So see, the data in the network will be always in the form of stream. So actually, you're processing here streams. Streams are processed. And remember, streams are always in the form of kilobytes. Streams cannot go beyond terabytes. Okay, so next thing, the output generation is instantaneous. The output generation is instantaneous. So see the difference between batch processing and real-time processing. When I say batch processing, you're actually working on a huge volume of data. But when I say real-time processing, you're actually working on a stream of data, and the size of the stream is hardly in kilobytes. The output that is generated in batch processing will take some time, and it will take some time to reflect in the portal. But the output generated in real-time processing is something which is instantaneous. Now let me give you an example of real-time processing. I will say your ATM transactions comes under real-time processing. The moment you remove, dispense the cash, the ATM machine dispenses the cash. At that time only, your account balance gets deducted. That's the example of real-time processing. Now, when I say batch processing, I will say weather forecasting, cricket, projected score. These days, these are very much famous. Thanks to T20, thanks to all those things, IPL, T20 and World Cup. Even this is also a new project that's coming up. Okay. So this is an example of batch processing and real-time processing. Is everybody clear with what is batch and real-time? Because before I head forward with Hadoop, you need to know these things. And if you have any queries or any kind of doubts in this now, please ask now. Because later it will be a big issue if you raise that doubt later. I mean, it will be a big issue for you to understand and digest certain things about Hadoop. Okay, great. Now, what do you mean by stream? Okay. How to show it? See, when you suppose you're downloading a file. Okay, I choose this. Pawan. Yeah. Suppose you're downloading a file. The file doesn't come completely in your computer directly. Your file is being divided into bits and bytes, and that bits and bytes are transferred from the source to destination. So that bits and bytes are considered as a stream. Got my point, Pawan? You have a glass of water, maybe half a liter, but you drink that water half a liter in the form of stream, slowly and steadily. Okay, that's an example of streaming. Now, yeah, So now let me just disclose something about Hadoop. First of all, Hadoop can perform only batch processing. This is the first thing that you need to digest in your mind. I don't know how many of you had a myth in their mind that you can do real-time processing with Hadoop. Those who had that myth in their mind, kindly delete it from your mind. Because Hadoop is meant to do only batch processing. Hadoop is there to process humongous amount of data. And that humongous amount of data comes only for batch processing and never for real-time processing. Real-time processing is totally a different subset. How about Twitter data analysis done? Okay, Sai, let me explain you. Since you are talking about Twitter specifically, let me just show you the architecture of Twitter. I mean, in a very basic way, of course. See, when I talk about Twitter sentimental Twitter data analysis, so first of all, it's a batch operation. It's not a real-time operation, just for your information, okay? It can either be a batch operation or it can either be a real-time operation. That depends on your architecture. But ideally, it's a batch operation where the first step is step 1, get the tweets from Twitter. So when you say get the tweets, this is real-time. This is real-time operation, okay? Now, step 2, process the tweets with an algorithm to perform analytics. Let's say sentimental analytics. So see, most of the time when you perform analytics, you need some reference data. I hope you know that, Sai. Am I right? Yeah. So that reference data is considered as historical data. Do you agree with me or not, Sai? Is the reference data historical? So if you're bringing historical data into picture, and if you're going in stepwise format, you're actually doing batch operation. You're not doing real-time operation. The only real-time thing that's happening here is you're getting real tweets from the Twitter that is tweeting right now in the market. Got my point, Sai? So here the step 3 will be generate graph or any reporting and submit the same in web app. And step 4 will be display the output for visualization. Okay, Sai, you got my point? Where it is, how it is a batch operation and not a real-time operation? Okay, great. Now, Hadoop is something that can handle only batch processing. Hadoop is something that cannot handle real-time processing. Okay, this is something that you need to digest in your mind, because if you don't digest this, then let me tell you, you will face a lot of problems to understand the feasibility of Hadoop with respect to your projects. See, now if suppose you have a requirement where you need to do real-time processing, so what to do? So see here, when it comes to batch processing, you can use Hadoop, you can use Spark. When it comes to real-time processing, you can use Spark streaming, or you can use Storm. And we have called Samza. There are different tools available. Okay. Now, remember, first of all, whenever you work on any big data project, first of all, you must understand the feasibility. When I say feasibility, the first thing that you need to understand from your client is whether you are going to perform batch processing or you are going to perform real-time processing. Remember, Hadoop is not a solution to a big data. There is a myth in the market that Hadoop is a solution to big data. No, it's not like that. Only the batch processing part Hadoop can handle. Hadoop cannot handle real-time processing part. Now, when I say big data, now why it is said that it's a solution to big data? Because in market, there's a new term that is released. I don't know how many of you this term. Do you know something called as Lambda architecture? Anybody is aware of this term? Anybody here who is aware of this term, Lambda architecture? Okay, fine. No problem. Okay, so heard about it but do not know. Okay, no problem. Fine, no problem. I know Lambda functions. No, not that Java 8 Lambda functions have it. That is different. Okay? Yeah. Okay, fine. So before I continue, okay, because I will be then continuing about Lambda architecture, do you all want a 5-minute break? Do you all want a 5-minute break in between? Okay, fine. So we'll be back. So I am in the Indian time zone right now. So we'll be back in 8:25 a.m. IST. So you can just convert it in your time zone. Take 5 minutes, come back. Okay? Your break starts now. Hi, I'm back. Please ping once you are in. Okay, fine. Now see here, I was discussing about Lambda architecture. Now, when I say about Lambda architecture, first of all, this architecture was created by Nathan Mas, and for your information, he's the creator of Storm, creator of Apache Storm. Okay, so now what Nathan Mas says is Lambda architecture comprises of three components. Lambda architecture comprises of three components, and the three components are, the first is called the batch layer, the second is called the speed layer, and the third is called the real-time layer. Okay, so let me try to make you understand this entire architecture with the help of my Excel sheet. Okay, so kindly observe this. Now, you know, most of the companies, whenever they call me for consulting purpose, they always tell me to create an architecture that can not only perform batch processing, but also real-time processing. Okay, so the problem statement is every organization needs an architecture to perform batch processing and real-time processing. The decision making of real-time processing must be done based on the output of the batch processing. Okay, so is Lambda related to Hadoop? Of course, said Lambda is related to Hadoop. Hadoop has a major role in Lambda architecture. Okay, now kindly observe this. So see here, when I talk about Lambda layer or when I talk about Lambda architecture, it basically comprises of three parts. The one is called the batch layer. The one which I have highlighted is the batch layer. The second is called the real-time layer. And the third is called the speed layer. Now, what do you mean by these three layers? Let me try to make you understand. If you're working on a past data, if you're working on a historical data, then you will require batch layer to process historical data. So the one which I have highlighted is something is your course. When you say Hadoop development, actually you are performing processing using MapReduce. This is the part you are doing actually in this course. Okay, but this course I will be focusing more on this complete part, the one which I have highlighted. So see, when I talk about the batch mode means the actions are performed post the effect. Means you will have some historical data and you will be processing that historical data to get some outcome out of that data. Okay, and when I say about real-time layer, kindly observe the real-time layer. The real-time layer is all about working on the present data. When I say present data, the real-time data which is emitted right now from the source. For example, the Twitter stream or the airplane data. You know, when airplane takes off till the airplane lands, it's always connected to the ATC, air traffic tower. So that air traffic tower always receives the data in real time. So they also require this kind of architecture. This airlines mechanism requires this kind of architecture to find out some issues in the workflow of the air travel, not only based on the present data, but also based on the past history. So the present data is analyzed not only based on the current scenario, but also based on the past scenario. So, most of the companies are looking for this kind of architecture to make it applicable in any organization so that your decisions will be accurate in nature. The accuracy of the decisions, the accuracy of the output that you generate is greater as compared to accuracy that's available only in the present data or only in the past data. Okay, now see the role of speed. The speed layer comes into picture when you want to process it super fast. Now see, Hadoop is something which works on secondary storage. When I say secondary storage, I mean hard disk. But assume for a moment, if I'm processing in a RAM rather than hard drive, then you can understand the speed between the both. Anything processed in RAM is faster than anything which is processed in hard drive. So if you need a mechanism to process everything in memory, in memory computation or something like that, or for iterative computing or something like that, in that case, you can go for the speed layer. For example, here Hadoop will transform the data based on machine learning algorithm, and the machine learning algorithm is implemented in the speed layer. So the output of the transformed data goes to the speed layer. Okay, and from the speed layer, the output is given to your reporting tool. So see, the black arrow which I create in the Excel sheet is something which always twisted and changed depending upon my requirement. Okay, so are you getting this idea? Are you getting this architecture? Is everybody getting an idea what is the role of these architectures? Just have a go through. Just have a go through with this complete layers, and let me know if you have any questions in any layer or any arrow structure or something like that. Can you explain the speed layer again? Okay. See, now when I talk about Hadoop, okay, when I talk about batch mode, see, batch mode is generally used for data transformation. Okay, data transformation means transforming or converting your data into something which is compatible to your algorithm. Now let's assume I want to implement classification algorithm. Classification is a machine learning algorithm, just for your information, okay? Machine learning algorithm. Now, classification has some criteria with the data. So the role of Hadoop here, or the role of batch layer here, is to convert your data into something that is compatible with your classification algorithm. So once the data is converted, it is given to the speed layer, which internally contains the classification algorithm. Once the classification algorithm is applied, the output of the speed layer will be given to your reporting or analytics tool. So the role of speed layer comes into picture where you want quicker processing. Quicker processing. And when I say quicker processing, it will be super fast because the processing takes place in RAM. Whereas in Hadoop, the processing takes place in hard drive. Now are you getting an idea what is speed layer and batch layer? Speed and batch both works on historical, but the difference between speed and batch is the execution speed. The difference between batch and speed is the execution speed. The execution speed in the speed layer is faster. The execution speed in the batch layer is lower. The reason is, in the batch layer, the execution happens on the hard drive, whereas In the speed layer, the execution happens on the RAM side. Is it clear now? Those who asked about the speed processing, is it clear? Okay, when you say Hadoop processed in HD, doesn't it need to be loaded into RAM to be processed? Okay, Amit, to be specific, Hadoop always works on secondary storage. Hadoop never works on primary storage because Hadoop is a distributed processing component. It's not a standalone processing component. Okay, Amit? So of course, in this complete 30 hours course, you will understand how Hadoop works. So at that time, you'll get more clarity on that. So is everybody clear with the speed part? Understood everyone what is speed? Is real-time always works on, what was the question? Yeah, is real-time always work on RAM? Is real-time always work on RAM? Is real-time always work on RAM? Yes, answer is yes. Sai has a question. Yes, tell me the question. How do we get large data to the speed layer? How do we get large data to the speed layer? Now, the criteria is the size of the data must accommodate the RAM. If your size of data accommodates the RAM, then only speed layer will work. Otherwise, speed layer will not work. Got my point, Sai? Suppose you have a large data. See, that's the point is, Sai. See here, I am doing data transformation in this layer. When I say data transformation, complying all the rules of speed layer. My data should comply all the rules of speed layer, then only speed layer will do his work. So it may be like complying with respect to data compression or whatever. Compression also can be achieved in data transformation. Got an idea, Sai? Or can it be taken as a bunch of RAM? Can it be taken as a bunch of RAM? The bunch of RAM for speed layer, Pavan? Are you talking about speed layer, Pavan? Yeah, you can take it. You can have a speed layer cluster also. You can have a speed layer cluster also. Now let me give you an example of speed layer, the tool that you use for speed layer. I think it's already given in the notepad. See, when you talk about batch layer, the best tool is Hadoop. When you talk about speed layer, the best tool is Spark. Spark is for in-memory computation. Okay, this is for, I'll say, secondary memory computation, whereas real-time layer is for stream computation. Okay, so see the real-time layer. Kindly understand the real-time layer. Real-time layer example is like use of intrusion detection system. Okay, SAP HANA, is it a speed layer tool? SAP HANA, no, only the HANA part is the speed layer tool. SAP is not a speed layer. SAP is a batch. Got my point, Sai? Yeah. So see here, when I talk about real-time layer, in the real-time layer, you are processing the present data. Okay, present data means the present input that is coming out from the machines, which is in the form of kilobytes. So initially you will process the data, then you visualize the data, and then actions or decisions are being taken. So it's like, suppose, we do real-time processing to understand, is there any pattern, if I want to find any patterns or something like that. So I already know the previous pattern, and I'm getting one pattern, and I want to identify whether the given pattern is a virus pattern or something like that. So, online antivirus comes under real-time processing. Facebook like comes under real-time processing. So see, these are some of the examples. And this real-time processing can be achieved using Apache Storm, Samza, KDB. So see, when you use real-time mode, decisions are taken before the effect of incident. And in times of batch, decisions are taken after the incident has occurred. So this is like a proactive strategy. This is like a reactive strategy. Okay? Clear with this much part? Everybody clear with this architecture? So companies today want you all to implement this kind of architecture. So of course, just by learning Hadoop, you cannot implement this entire architecture. Learning Hadoop, you will be only capable to implement the one which I have highlighted. How large can be a real-time data? Not beyond 200 kilobytes. Not beyond 200 kilobytes. It's, like, let me tell you, Sai, normally all your stream data is in text format. Normally, all your stream data is in text format, so it will never go beyond 100 kilobytes or so. But if suppose your stream has some blob data, still the stream content will be based on your windowing pattern. So, still it will be kilobytes, 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 and on the source it will accumulate together and make it as megabytes, something like that. So junk will come. What about the share market data? The share market data is of course in kilobytes when it comes to real time. And you maintain the collections of the share market data to become to make it terabytes or gigabytes, whatever. One record will not cost you more than 10 KB. Think in that way. If you have a RDBMS having 500 GB data, out of that 500 GB data, if I take only one record, that one record is considered to be a stream. So that one record is processed by Storm. Not the entire batch is processed by Storm. Think in that way. So is everybody clear with this architecture? Everyone? Any questions on this? Please feel free to ask. Have a read over, and if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to ask this. Okay. So now, let's talk about Hadoop. So when I say Hadoop, basically, I'll say Hadoop is a distributed computing engine which consists of distributed processing with distributed storage facility. Okay. Now, Hadoop is meant for batch processing. Okay. Hadoop cannot perform real-time processing. And one more thing, Hadoop is an ELT tool. Okay. How many? I hope everybody knows what is ETL, right? Everybody knows what is ETL. Can you tell me? What is ETL in brief? I mean, don't give it a full form. Just in one line, can you explain what is ETL? Okay, Rakesh, no problem. I'll explain that. Okay. Extract, transform, load. So see, suppose I have a table called employee. Let's assume, I'm just trying to explain what is ETL. And I have these columns. I say employee ID, which can handle integer data. I'll say employee name, which can handle string data. Okay, let me make it more simple. Employee ID also can handle string data. Okay, employee name can handle string data. Employee salary also can handle string data. Let's assume in this way. Okay, I'm taking the best case. Now, I will just write some records. You tell me whether this records will enter in table or not. So see the first record. Okay. Is it a valid record? Will it enter in the table if I try to insert this record? Is this a valid record? Everyone, those who even don't know what is ETL, I hope you all know some basic database, right? Okay. So I will say here valid. Now, is it a valid record? Is this a valid record? Okay, Pawan says no. Why no, Pawan? Sai says no. Why, Sai? Just specify the reasons, please. Thank you. Rakesh says no. Please specify the reason. Okay. Okay, Rakesh changed this answer to yes. Fine. Sai says the reason is employee ID. Okay. What is the problem with employee ID? Here, everything is string. So think in that way and answer. Okay. So I hope everybody, those who said no, like they will say yes, right? It's a valid, right? Everybody is agreeing with that now. Those who said no, I hope they are saying yes now. Okay, great. Now, kindly observe the third record. Please observe the third record. I'll say here to Aman 3000 Rocky. Tell me, is this a valid record? Carefully answer, and I want a reason, okay? I want a reason. Everyone, I want a reason. Whether you say yes or no, I want a reason. Okay, Rakesh says extra columns, so no. Okay. Raja says no, we are not expecting the fourth field. Okay. We defined 3 columns but got 4. Okay. No, too many columns as per schema definition. Okay. Ujjwal says no. Okay. I feel it's valid. Okay, Parveen, what is the reason? The fourth one is undefined. Okay, Madhuri, fine. We can avoid the fourth column. Agreed with you, Parveen? See, in the database, we have an option to discard the remaining columns. Okay. However, here I'm taking a simple example. So right now, for now, I will say invalid, since I haven't specified how will be the behavior of table in extra columns. But however, Parveen, I agree with you. Okay, I'm not disagreeing with you. Okay. Now, see the problem. When you work on ETL, there is a probability of losing the data. When you work on ETL, there is a probability of losing the data. Either you lose all or you lose Rocky. Something like that. Try to understand my point. ETL is strict. Let me tell you, ETL is strict when it comes to maintaining the data. ETL is very strict when it comes to maintaining the data. Okay. So the point is, when I talk about this RDBMS tools, or when I talk about these database tools, all these tools comes under ETL. Okay. So ETL says that first he will extract the data from the source, then he will transform, and then he will load. The criteria is, if you want this data to be accepted in your RDBMS, this data should comply the schema. So the given data should be transformed beforehand. The given data should be transformed beforehand. But this approach is not valid today, because today's world says that data is king. Today, data is king, and nobody wants to lose any data, as more data equals more accurate decisions. Okay. So the thing is, in today's market, people are saying that under any circumstances, my system should be capable to grab any kind of data. My system should be capable to grab any kind of data. So in that case, your ETL fails. So remember, Hadoop, when Hadoop was designed using ELT strategy. So when I say ELT strategy, ELT says extract, load, and then think of transform. So the thing is, when you use Hadoop, Hadoop will accept any kind of data irrespective of the transformation. Now kindly observe an example of ELT. Let's assume the same thing, employee. I'll say EMP ID colon int. Then I have EMP name colon string. Then I have EMP salary colon double. Let's take in this way. Kindly observe and let me know which records are valid. So I will say here 1 comma Prashant comma 1000.00. Is this a valid record? Yes or no? Is this a valid record? Okay. Valid. Now, kindly observe everyone. 2 ppn2, I'll say 1000.00. Now, is this valid record? Is this valid record? Very good. It's a valid record. Perfect. Now, kindly observe the third one. 3, sorry. I will say maybe Sai, then I'll say maybe 2000. Is this a valid record? Very good. Now kindly observe. Is this a valid record? Okay, those who said no, why? Those who said yes, why? Now I want the answer. I want the answers with reason for this record. Pawan, you are very smart, huh? As per the schema, it should be invalid. Very good. Let me tell you guys, when I talk about ELT, whatever I give here, everything becomes valid. Let me try to explain this. When I talk about ELT, not ETL, here I am talking about ELT, not ETL. So when I talk about ELT, whatever I enter here, everything becomes valid. Let me tell you that. Because he will load the data irrespective of whatever data he receives. Then he will think of transformation. See, this was just a trick question. I have given you one schema. That's a different point. But this schema has no effect till the transformation phase. The effect will start on transformation, not on the load. Every time, whenever the schema is given, this compliance is given. The compliance applies to transformation and not on the load. So see here, previously it was ETL. So schema compliance comes here. So compliance is checked before loading. Compliance is checked after loading. Now we are getting the difference between ELT and ETL, everyone? Is everyone getting the difference between ETL and ELT? In ETL, the schema is checked before loading. But in ELT, the schema is checked after loading. So since it's checked after loading, technically everything is valid. Even if I give garbage, still it will be valid. And Hadoop is like that. Hadoop says that no matter whatever data I give, no matter whatever data I load, still my Hadoop will be capable to load the data. Okay, understood my point? So see, Hadoop is designed in a way that he will actually accept any kind of data, because today's market is saying that data is king. and nobody wants to lose any data. So regarding the transformation, of course, you will be writing a logic to transform, and maybe at that time you can decide to discard or maintain. But think in this way, think in this way, Pawan. Assume for a moment your company is getting some data and your company is getting some valuable insight about customers' behavior. This is what companies are looking for. Companies are not looking for schema compliant data. Companies are looking for customers' behavior. And this is where ELT comes into picture. As I said, I am not talking about transactional processing. I am not talking about real time. I am talking about batch. Since it's a batch, there is no problem regarding transformation. Got my point, Pawan? So at transform, we need to handle everything. Of course, you need to handle everything. Now, the next thing that you need to understand about Hadoop is Hadoop is meant for OLTP. Sorry, what I'm writing here, man. OLAP, Online Analytical Processing. Okay, how many of you does not know what is OLTP and OLAP? OLTP and OLAP. Anybody here who doesn't know this term? Online transactional processing, this is online transactional processing. And this is online analytical processing. Okay. Let me just give you a simple example to make you understand this. OLTP example is your ATM transactions, cash transactions. OLAP example is recommendations based on products. For example, if I buy a television, I will get a recommendation to buy a stabilizer if I'm in Chennai location, because in Chennai there is a power cut problem. So that is analytical processing. Now is everybody clear what is OLTP and OLAP? OLTP is always real time in nature. And OLAP, it can be either real time or it can be batch. It's not necessarily batch. It can be either real time or batch. Make sense, guys? Understood this much part? Those who don't know OLAP and OLTP, just a simple way to explain. Huh? I am not explaining the formal things because this is not a database class, but still to give you an idea. Now, Hadoop is meant for OLAP operations only. Hadoop is meant for OLAP operations only. Hadoop is not meant for OLTP. Remember this fact, okay? Now see here, I want to show you one diagram. By seeing the diagram, you will get a lot of ideas. See here. See the current architecture in terms of OLAP. By now, I am sure you all know what is OLAP architecture. So when I talk about OLAP, in OLAP, see the yellow box. Yellow box was something which was used previously. Yellow box was something which is termed as traditional. You can see you have a data. The data is given to the ETL tool. From ETL tool, it's given to a OLAP tool. From OLAP, it's given to the reporting tool. The yellow side problem is, see the problems. It's written the red ink. You can see there, in the yellow part, the major problem is your data must compulsorily be a structured data. First of all, it doesn't support all the varieties of data when you work on the yellow box architecture. Second problem is the software licensing issue. Because you are working on ETL tools, it will have its own licensing features. It will have some higher limits. You need to totally work on those higher limits and other parameters. The third problem is, of course, it's not scalable. Scalability will be an issue because when you try to scale up the resources, there will have some downtime. we will face some downtime. And in a production, facing downtime is like a nightmare. And of course, it takes huge time for processing huge volume data. As and when the volume increases in the ETL, the data also, the time to process that data also gets increased. Okay, is everybody clear with the yellow box part? Understood the problems that you face in the yellow box architecture? See, if you have any problems now, you can feel free to ask me, okay? These are all basic things. If suppose there is something which you don't know, which you never encountered, feel free to ask. I will explain in detail, not a problem. Okay, now see the role of Hadoop in the existing architecture. See the role of Hadoop. Here, Hadoop is taking the role of ETL, but in the form of ELT. The reason is, since Hadoop is a ELT, ELT strategized tool, therefore Hadoop can work on any variety of data. See the think of IBM's definition. Previously, IBM's definition was accepted because previously this was the only architecture present in the market. At that time, if anybody tells you to process unstructured data, everybody was like, how to process unstructured data? So that's why IBM used to say, if your data, if your engine can process all varieties of data, then I can say you're working on big data. So the thing is, Hadoop can process all the varieties of data thanks to his ELT feature. And once he performs the transformation, now see, the role of Hadoop is, he will transform the data based on his next tool. See the smartness. Hadoop will take the junk, convert it into something meaningful as per your next tool. Suppose if you're using an analytical tool, any analytical tool like SAS, R. Suppose this second green box is R. So this Hadoop will take the accountability of converting the data into the compliance of R. Maybe with respect to storage or maybe with respect to pattern or whatever. So see, the role of Hadoop in any project is to perform data transformation. That's the reality. However, using Hadoop, you can do some basic analytics. That's a different point. But the basic role of Hadoop was to convert your data into something which is compatible with your next tool. So, it's scalable in nature. It's very less expensive because Hadoop is free and it has very high throughput, and the processing speed will be faster because of the feature called parallel processing. Is everybody clear with this architecture? Everybody clear with the diagram and the role of Hadoop? The reason, see, today's lecture is all about making you understand where Hadoop is feasible and where Hadoop is not feasible in a project. Today's lecture is on this only. And today, I think I should, by the end of the day, you should be capable to tell me which projects are feasible for Hadoop and which are not. Okay. Which part you want me to repeat, Madhuri? You want me to repeat the lower part or this, the existing part? Okay. The yellow boxes, right, Madhuri? Okay, fine. See now. As you can see here, the second box is a ETL tool. Now, when I say ETL tool, the first rule of ETL is ETL should have only structured data. ETL can process only structured data, not semi-structured, not unstructured. So your data source must emit only structured data to the ETL. If your data source emits semi-structured or unstructured, all the data will be bounced back from this tool. No data will be accepted by the ETL. Whatever data is coming to the ETL, that will be given to the analytical tool to process, and he will report. The point here is, the first major issue is, in today's world, the data is not only structured in nature. We have semi-structured data also, we have unstructured data also. So when they have a semi-structured or unstructured data, this architecture fails. Second thing is the hardware capacity problem. The problem is that this ETL tools actually work on single server instances only. Multi-server instances, it's very complicated to set up. For example, setting up Oracle Enterprise cluster is the biggest challenge in the world. Okay? So the thing is, hardware capacity is a major issue. The next problem is the CapEx, the software licensing. It's very heavy. And not only that, as and when the data gets increased in the database, the time required to process that data is also required more. Suppose if you are having 1 million records and the processing time is 4 milliseconds, then for 10 million records, the processing time becomes 8 milliseconds. So, as and when the data gets increased, the processing time also gets increased. So these are some of the problems that we face in the current architecture, which is removed by Hadoop, because Hadoop says that he can take any variety of data, and thanks to parallel processing of Hadoop, he can also process it super fast, and it's scalable in nature. Now is it clear, Madhuri? Getting an idea? Okay. Okay, what about the rest? Everybody comfortable with this architecture now? Okay, great. Now, one more point that you need to understand. Okay. There is one more concept that we need to understand, and that concept is called concept of scalability with respect to hardware. Okay. So, what is scalability as per your viewpoint with respect to hardware? What is scalability? Any idea? Scalability. Okay. Scalability is of two types. Okay. Scalability is of two types. The first type is called vertical scalability. And second is called horizontal scalability. Now, let's try to understand this vertical scalability and horizontal scalability with the help of my Excel sheet. Okay. Now, kindly observe here. When I say vertical scalability is all about upgrading or downgrading your physical system. Let's assume for a moment you have a laptop with 4 GB RAM. You have a laptop with 4 GB RAM. If I'm upgrading my laptop to 8 GB RAM, or if I'm downgrading my laptop to 2 GB RAM, I will say I am achieving vertical scalability. So when I say vertical scalability, it's all about upgrading or downgrading the peripherals in your system. But now, when I say vertical scalability, there are some problems, and try to understand the problems here. The problem is there exists upper limit in your machine. Now, when I say upper limit, what do you mean by that? See, right now I am using a laptop which has 32 gigs of RAM. Okay. Now, if I wish to upgrade my laptop to 64 gigs, assume for a moment, it is not possible for me. The reason is my laptop motherboard does not support more than 32 gigs RAM. So this is the problem of vertical scalability. In vertical scalability, there will exist some upper limit, and that upper limit is dependent on the vendor specification. Not only that, one of the major problems that we face in vertical scalability is the downtime. See, if you want to upgrade your RAM, you need to shut down your system. Shutting down the system means there's a downtime. Assume shutting down the servers. It's a big nightmare actually. So, downtime is also introduced when you perform vertical scalability. So to avoid this kind of downtime and other factors, we have something called as horizontal scalability. So kindly observe the definition of horizontal scalability. It's all about adding or subtracting the machines to form a cluster. I repeat, it's all about adding or subtracting the machines to form a cluster. So assume for a moment right now I have 4 machines A, B, C, D, which contains 2.3 gigahertz of processor, 1 terabyte of hard drive, and 16 GB of RAM. Okay, so you can see here, if I logically connect all the four systems together in a cluster, I get a distributed storage of 4 terabytes. As you can see here, distributed storage of 4 terabytes. I get the processing of 9.2 gigahertz and 64 GB RAM, which will logically act as a single machine. Okay, so the thing is, in horizontal scalability, if I want to add extra resources, I can directly add extra machines without shutting down or without introducing any downtime in the existing architecture. I can add extra resources without introducing any downtime in the existing architecture, and I can scale unlimited. I can have 100 systems, 1000 systems, crores of systems, not a problem. That's the feature of horizontal scalability. Is everybody clear with this, both the terms, horizontal and vertical scalability? Horizontal scalability is like unlimited scalability is available. Vertical, there's a limit with respect to your vendor specification. Okay. In vertical scalability, I'm talking about single standalone system. In horizontal scalability, I'm talking about cluster. Is everybody clear with this part? Horizontal and vertical scalability? Okay. Now the last point is Hadoop supports horizontal scalability. So this sentence says a lot actually. So you know, if you want to process 1 terabyte of data, tomorrow, suppose I have created a cluster which can process 1 terabyte. Tomorrow company says I am getting more amount of data, what to do? So without shutting down the existing cluster, I can scale up the resources if I wish to, without introducing any downtime. So this is a feature of Hadoop, horizontal scalability. How about adding more cores in the processor? Yes, Sai, even that is possible. Even that is possible, Sai. Adding more cores. See, when you say adding more cores, are you talking in the same system or you are introducing a different system? If you are doing this in the same system, then it is actually the vertical scalability. If you are doing in a different system, which is not the part of cluster, and then adding it, then I will say it's a horizontal scalability. Got it? The actively participated systems cannot be removed. Otherwise, it will become like speed. What about the speed? What about the speed? Speed of what, Pawan? Vertical or faster or horizontal? No, Pawan. It depends on the setup. Okay. Now see, right now I'll tell you, my 32 GB laptop or P4 or 25 P4 systems. If you say in that way, I will say the 25 P4 systems which are clustered together is faster than my 32 GB laptop. Got my point, Pawan? Because don't see in terms of hardware, see in terms of number of workers, number of computers who are going to work on a single thing. Okay, good. Okay, fine. So, next thing. So when I talk about Hadoop, Hadoop basically comprises of two things, okay? So it consists of two components, and the two components are, the first is called the storage part of Hadoop, which is also called as HDFS, which stands for Hadoop Distributed File System. And the second is called the processing part of Hadoop, which is called MR, that is MapReduce. Okay. So Hadoop internally consists of two things. That is the storage part of Hadoop, that is nothing but the HDFS, and the processing part of Hadoop, that is MapReduce. Now, when I talk of Hadoop generations, Hadoop basically consists of two generations. One is called Hadoop V1, that is version 1 Hadoop, which is Gen 1, okay? And next is called Hadoop V2, which is the second generation Hadoop. So see the difference between V1 and V2. In V1 and in Hadoop V1, we have HDFS and MR. So see, the storage part is handled by HDFS, and the processing part is handled by MapReduce. Whereas in version 2, the storage part is handled by HDFS, but the processing part is handled by YARN. So see, these two are different processing engines, okay? Just for now, understand only one point. This MapReduce and YARN are processing engines, okay? So how these work and all that we'll learn later. Not only that, in a single cluster, one cluster can have only 4096 systems. So if you talk about in terms of cluster, one cluster cannot go beyond 4096 systems, whereas here one cluster can have unlimited systems. So if you're going with second generation, one cluster can have unlimited systems. You'll not face any problem when it comes to scaling up of resources. So you can scale up unlimited if you're working on generation 2. Okay. So these are the Hadoop generations that is available in the market right now. The next thing that I will discuss is Hadoop distributions. Hadoop distributions. So when I say Hadoop distributions, we have multiple distributions in the market. The first distribution is of course Apache Hadoop. So Apache Hadoop is open source. So since it's open source, it's free. And since it's free, there is no support. So you are accountable for the cluster. There is nobody who can support you, okay, when you are using Apache Hadoop. You are accountable for all the work that is done on your cluster. Then we have Cloudera Hadoop, which is also called CDH basically. CDH is a Cloudera product. Cloudera Inc. is the company. This is commercial tool, but charges are applicable only for support and not for the software. Okay? Charges are applicable only for support and not for the software. So this is the thing that you must digest in your mind. Apart from that, apart from CDH, you have one more tool called Mapr Hadoop. Okay, so the name of the company is Mapr Inc. This is also a commercial product. However, here also the charges are applicable to the support and not for the software, because this Cloudera and Mapr internally uses Apache Hadoop. So they are not charging you for the software, they are only charging you for the support. So suppose you don't have a research team in your organization and you want to implement Hadoop, in that case, you can actually rely on these two companies. Apart from that, we have HDP, that's Hortonworks Data Platform for Hadoop. Okay, so HDP company name Hortonworks Inc. Okay, so as you can see here, the charges are applicable to the support and not to the software. Okay, so this is one for HDP. Similarly, now those are Microsoft fans. For them, we have Microsoft HD Insight. So Microsoft HD Insight is a Microsoft product as usual, but it's a cloud offering. It's a commercial tool, but it's a cloud offering through Windows Azure. Okay, so you will be doing the payment will be based on pay per usage model, pay per usage. Okay, and suppose if you want to create a private Microsoft cluster in your organization, then you have something called as Hadoop for Windows, which is a product that is created by Hortonworks on collaboration with Microsoft, of course. This is commercial, but see the pricing now. They will charge you for the software plus Windows Server license plus concurrent license plus Visual Studio license. Those who work on .NET, I hope they know what is Visual Studio. Visual Studio license. So these are the things that they will charge you. So they charge a lot basically when you are using Hadoop for Windows. Apart from that, there are many other companies like Pivotal HD. There are companies like DataStack. So these are some of the famous distributions. Most of the time, companies prefer to go for MapR or Cloudera. In India, people prefer to go for MapR because MapR is a little cheaper compared to Cloudera. Cloudera is very costly, but Cloudera is reliable. Is there anything from Amazon? Yes, Sai. So if you want to use Hadoop services from Amazon, so Amazon provides a Hadoop service called Amazon EMR, stands for Elastic MapReduce. So this is a Hadoop offering provided by Amazon. It's a cloud offering. Okay, so it's commercial in nature. And since it's a cloud offering, they have their own pay-per-usage model. Okay. So these are some of the Hadoop distributions that is available in the market. And these are some of the famous distributions. There are more than around 85 distributions available in the market, out of which these are some of the distributions. Okay, next. The next thing is Hadoop criteria. Now, if you want to install Hadoop in your system, the first criteria is, first of all, Hadoop requires Linux. So Hadoop requires Linux, and when I say Linux, he requires Linux kernel 2.6.x or later. So I will be using Ubuntu 12.04 LTS server OS. Okay. Next thing is Hadoop requires Java. Now remember, Hadoop is a Java-based framework. Okay, it's a framework. It's actually not even a software tool. Now, when I explain about distribution, I use the word software, but ideally, when I talk about Hadoop, I will say Hadoop is a Java-based framework. Okay? So, internally it requires Java because everything is designed in Java. And when I say Java, he requires Java 6 or later. Till now, Java 8 is not supported completely. So if you're working on Hadoop, please don't work on Java 8, only work on Java 7. Okay. The next thing is Hadoop requires SSH service. So you need to install SSH service in your Linux system. Okay. Now, the next question, I want answers from everyone. How many? I just want to know your system configuration and your OS that you will be using to practice all the labs. Can you just tell me? Just mention the system configuration, like your processor, RAM, and the OS, like Windows 7, Windows 8, whatever. Just let me know what are you using, so that accordingly I will set up a lab for you. Okay. Kamal, very good. Rakesh, Fedora server, at a 10 core, 8 GB RAM. Okay, AMD A10. Okay, fine. Sai i7 8 GB RAM. Okay, Windows 8 fine. Kamal i7. How much RAM, Kamal? RAM and which OS? Amit 4 GB RAM, Windows 7, 8 GB RAM, 8.1, 8 GB RAM, Windows 7, Intel i7, 12 GB RAM, i5. Okay, okay. 4 GB RAM from Pradeep. Okay. 8 GB RAM, 8 GB. Okay, good. Okay. See, to perform all the practicals successfully, I expect at least 8 GB RAM systems from your end. Okay. Those who have 4 GB RAM, still you can do the practicals. But there's only one lab where I doubt whether you can do it completely or not. But the remaining labs, you can do it. All the development labs can be done in a 4 GB RAM laptop, not an issue. Okay. Fine. Good. So, okay. How many of you here are comfortable with Linux? Okay, how many of you are not comfortable with Linux? I think that's the question I should ask. How many of you are not comfortable with Linux? When it comes to Linux OS installation kind of thing, especially server OS installation, not comfortable. Those who are not comfortable, please respond. Thank you. So, 1, 2, 3. Not worked on installation. We have the cloud installation, so we can practice. Not much comfortable. Okay. Okay. Fine. No problem. Okay. So see, you will require some softwares from, for the practice purpose. So we will be creating VMs and all. Okay. So we will be directly working on. You have a cloud installation and we can connect to and practice. Don't we have a cloud installation and we can connect? No, we don't have a cloud installation, Rakesh. I don't think we are offering any cloud installation. Okay. Yeah. So see, those who are having even 4 GB, it's fine. Those who are having below 4 GB RAM laptops, I'm straightforward saying you cannot practice in that laptops. Okay. So okay. Now, whatever tools and applications are required, all those are available in this link. Okay. So I'll be providing this link. Okay, via the notepad. Also, let me just provide it from the chat box, so that those who have higher internet speed can start downloading side by side. Okay. So I have provided the link to you. So, it contains VMware Workstation 8. It contains all the softwares, data, Eclipse, Hadoop jars, even this Hadoop pseudo VM. So, in the next class, I want you all to download everything and make it ready for your system for the practice purpose. Okay. See, today's session was purely a theory session. From next session onwards, it will be like 80% practicals. Most of our sessions are always like 80% practicals and 20% theory. Just for today, it's only theory session. So yeah, your classes will be available on Saturday and Sunday. I mean, in terms of Indian time, it's Saturday and Sunday. So your next class will be next week. Okay. I have VMware. If you can check if I can continue. Which version of VMware, Praveen? Which version of VMware? Just check the version. Just go open your VMware and go to help and about VMware Workstation and tell me which version you are using. No, Amit, though we use that Hadoop image, Cloudera image and all. Reason I'll tell you, Amit, here you are here to learn to do it from scratch. So I recommend that way, okay? In near future, of course, once you're comfortable with setting up and doing the things, then of course you can do it. You can use the Cloudera image also, okay? Praveen, you can work on Workstation 8, no problem. Then you can work on that existing setup. I recommend you use Ubuntu rather than using CentOS, because Ubuntu is far more simpler. compared to CentOS. However, you can work on, if you're comfortable with CentOS, because CentOS has problems with respect to IP mapping and other things. So if you're comfortable with that, then of course you can, carry on. Okay, so my expectations from your end is, I want you all to download all the tools and applications that is there here. Okay, by the next class, you should be ready with these tools and applications. However, during the class, I'll be not allowing you to do any hands-ons. Post the class, you can do the hands-ons, and you can take the references from the recordings and the notepad that I'll be using. Okay, so see, my expectation is there a README to how to set all these up? The README will be created on the spot during the class in the notepad, Amit. Okay? So don't worry, whatever I'll be doing, I'll be setting up all the lab setups, I'll be doing everything, and I'll be even making a note in the notepad for you for that. And those notepads will be shared to you directly. So we do not need to set up it before. All we have to do is to download it. Yes, exactly, Amit. Just download it. Just maintain it with you. So that once you see the class on Saturday, that's on the next class, that day or next morning, you can be able to practice the things. Will you be uploading the, yes. All the resources, what I'm using here, the notepad, Excel sheet, everything will be shared to you. Whatever I'm using here, everything will be shared to you. Okay, these are for you only. And one more thing, for learning Hadoop, the best book I prefer from my end is Hadoop, the Definitive Guide, 3rd edition. And Hadoop in Action. Okay, these are 2 books I prefer you all to refer, and these 2 books in the form of ebooks will be shared to you via resources. But still, for a long term, if you wish, you can buy a hard copy for yourself. I will be sharing you the ebooks of these 2 books. Okay? Yeah. Will we be doing the installation in the next class? Yeah, in the next class, I'll be starting with the Hadoop installation. I'll be explaining about Hadoop installation in detail. Okay. Now I have some homeworks for you. Like prerequisites kind of thing. Now, what prerequisite I expect? So I hope most of you are from Java background. So I need you all to revise, brush up your post Java skills. Okay. Second thing, brush up your SQL skills. You should be capable to write some SQL queries. I only expect basic level SQL queries. I don't expect intermediate and expert level. Okay. So to make this possible, you can refer to wpschools.com/SQL. This is the web link where actually you can get the resources for SQL. For Core Java, I'll be sharing some YouTube videos. I mean, for those who are out of touch from Core Java, who were doing Core Java and now you are out of touch, there are some YouTube videos available in Core Java to brush up the skills. Okay, so this is my expectation. And yeah, one question to everyone. Are you comfortable with this way of teaching? I mean, use of Notepad and Excel sheets? Because I myself hate use of PPTs. That's why I'm asking you. Is everybody comfortable with this way of teaching? And let me tell you, just for your, for your clarity, see, I'll be maintaining all the lab steps in the notepads. Okay, see, like this. For example, this is the notepad for my previous Learn Social batch. So see, I am maintaining the lab steps in this way. So you will not face any issues during the installation. Okay. So, yeah. See, now one more thing, installation of softwares. So I want you all to download and install VMware. Okay, install VMware Workstation. Okay, install VMware Workstation. And those who are comfortable can install Ubuntu Server 12.04 LTS OS. Those who are comfortable with Ubuntu. See, in the next class, I will start with creating a virtual machine and installing the Ubuntu server. Okay. And I will be installing Hadoop in standalone and pseudo distributed mode. That's my schedule for next class. However, those who are comfortable can actually make this installed. Okay. You can install the VMware workstation and you can install Ubuntu server. Ubuntu under VMware. Yes, Pawan. Okay. Yeah, and those who are not comfortable installing Ubuntu, let me tell you, my first session will be to install Ubuntu only. So need not worry. If you're not comfortable with Ubuntu, don't take risk. It's really fine because I'll be explaining you right from scratch. But I expect you to install VMware Workstation. Installing VMware Workstation is not a big deal, okay? It's like just start, click, next, give the license key, finish. You can easily get the links from YouTube for installing VMware Workstation, those who face problem in installing VMware Workstation. And those who are working on Linux machines, I found 1 or 2 machines who are working on Linux. Those who are working on Linux machines, please download the compatible VMware Workstation from the VMware website. Okay? Please download the compatible VMware Workstation from the VMware website, those who are working on Linux. And moreover, the license keys that is available in the notepad can be used directly. Okay, otherwise you can work on trial edition. The trial edition will expire in 30 days. So any queries or any concerns in today's session, please let me know. So today we have just covered the basics of Hadoop, and my motto today was to just explain how actually, Hadoop works. What is the feasibility of Hadoop and where not to use Hadoop? This was today's more focus. So any queries or any concerns, please ask. Okay. So right now I'm going to share these notepads in the resources tab. So please check your resources tab whether you're receiving that or not. Okay. So I'll say so I have shared you the day one notepad. Just check whether it's there in the resources tab or not. I have also shared you the Lambda architecture. So just check. I have shared 2 Excel sheets and 1 notepad today. Please ensure that everything is accessible in your Learn portal, in your Learn Social portal. Please check it once. Anybody who is facing problem to download those things, please let me know now. Because this is the only medium from where I'll be sharing all the tools and softwares, okay? So please check it, download it. Please download it and see whether you're able to download or not. Open it, see whether things are correct or not. Just do those things once in front of me, because if you face any problems, you can just ask me now so that I will inform the Learn Social backend team. Okay, great. Fine then. So we'll meet next week. Thank you very much. Have a great day. And if you have any queries, you can ask me, or else you can sign out for today. Okay? Yeah, those I will be sharing. The core Java videos and all I'll be sharing, okay? I'll be sharing that right now. Okay, thank you, Pawan. Thank you, Sai. Thank you very much. Thanks, Rakesh. Thank you. Thanks, Madhuvi.
Hey Prashant.
Hey, Sid, tell me.
Sorry, my chat is not working. Just wanted to make sure. Yeah, thank you for the class. And tomorrow there is no class?
No. Actually, you're from which time zone, sir?
EST.
EST. Okay. See, EST, it's Friday and Saturday.
Oh, it's Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I say Saturday, Sunday, it's actually as per Indian Standard Time. That's why.
Okay, got it. Because this Friday we didn't have, so.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so it's on next Friday. You'll have your class. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Rakesh.